This tutorial will cover for you how to use Google Drawings to create a mosaic drawing. And I found that the easiest way to get to Google Drawings was just put it in a Google search, because for whatever reason this morning, my other options were just not loading. So this seemed to be the quickest, easiest way to get there. And then after it does load, you want to first put your name at the top and then label it probably mosaic drawing, or even if you call it, art class, so you know how to find it. And then the first thing you'll do is pick your grout color or your kind of background color that will be showing between the pieces. To do that, you're going to go to the shapes and you'll select the square and create an entire square filling that whole drawing space. Once you do that, so say you have no idea what you're going to do, you have no picture picked out or anything, you can always change this later. So if you are not happy with it, don't worry, it's not permanent, easy to fix. So I'm going to select black because I really like the contrast of black with the different colors. And then you're going to insert an image. You can upload something that maybe you have a photograph that you want to use, that's fine. Or you can search the web for something. And I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to pick a picture of some crayons. And I want you guys to make sure that you are using a photograph and not cartoons. And I would say avoid faces. So animals would be kind of tough right now, or a person would be very tough. The reason I say this is because we're still learning this method. So I would stick with something that's a little bit more like basic shapes that you can easily recognize and create your drawing around. I'm going to do the crayons, and I'm going to pick the one that's really zoomed up because it's much easier, in my opinion, to see the different shapes and values of color. So select your picture and click insert. If you want to modify it, so maybe you only want to do a certain part of a picture and really zoom in on it, that's fine. So I'm going to double click and I'm going to slightly crop mine a bit, and then click away from it so I can enlarge it. And you really want to focus on filling up the majority of your background space. Get it nice and centered and looking good. And you could rotate the picture, crop it more, zoom in more, whatever you decide, but this is just an example for us to get going. All right, click away so that you don't have your picture selected. And you're going to go to where you see this line tool, and you're going to click and go down to the polyline. Now you have this tool. So before we get going, I wanted to tell you, so this is a frustration I came across, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how annoying. Well, if you start creating a polyline and you decide, oh, I don't want this, well, you have to actually enclose the shape, and then you can click the backspace or delete button or whatever and get rid of it. But until it's actually enclosed, you can't delete it. It's a little frustrating, but once you get going, it goes a lot faster than in the beginning. At first, it's oh my gosh, this is really tedious, but the pace increases as you get used to the tool. So you're going to create a bunch of different shapes. And I'm going to just start on the edge of my crayon here. So you click and you drag and you click and you drag until you get the shape that you want. And enclose, it's a little bit tough for me to see because of the colors. You can zoom, so if you take your fingers and you kind of spread them apart, I guess you could say, like this on your little keypad mouse, that's how you zoom in. If you're using a regular mouse, it may be different for you. So anyways, I have one of my shapes here. you want to do a variety of shapes, not just one kind of shape. So triangles, squares, and you're going to go around those kind of different shapes of colors that you see. So these are a little bit rough right now, but that's okay because I'm kind of going quick. So get some shapes in here. All right, I want to attempt to match these colors as much as possible. So I'm going to go up to my paint bucket here and I'm going to look and see, okay, what's pretty close to the color of this crayon? We're going to go with this kind of color right here. And I want to match up the colors as much as possible. And if you didn't notice already, to get out of this tool, so right now, see how it's kind of a plus, you want to change it to the arrow so you can select different things. Or maybe you don't like something, you can select it and delete it, because I actually didn't like that. So anyhow, I have my arrow tool out right now, and this is a great time to change, make my border transparent, choose the color that I want to use. So I'm getting a little bit closer to the color. It's not going to be exact. And I'll click out of that. I'm going to go back to my polyline tool. And notice there's no color selection, or like the color choices kind of disappear when you use this, but that's okay. You can always go and change things. All right, let's hope that made a shape because it's hard to see. And this looks like a good match, or pretty close match. And I'm just going to keep going with this method until I have filled up all of my space. And I wanted to show you one that I actually completed. And right now the picture is still in here. You can still see where the crayons were. So I'm going to get a hold of my picture. So I have my picture selected. And this is what it looks like as a mosaic. It's a great way to check throughout your work process too. Easy to just kind of slide your photo back and forth as you work. And you can compare them side by side as well. So as you can see, the colors don't match perfectly, but I did my best to encompass the kind of dark, medium, and lightest colors in my picture. And I use lots of varieties of shapes and different sizes of shapes as well, which makes it way more interesting. So you don't want to do all gigantic shapes because it's not going to make a whole lot of sense. You want to have a little bit of big ones, medium-sized ones, and little ones. And as I said, once you get going, this goes a lot quicker after you get the hang of it. It just takes a little bit of practice and experimenting. So have fun and let me know if you have any questions.